We welcome you to another live edition of The Sports Box, your go-to sports podcast featuring great content, conversation, and your occasional disagreement. Stick around to interact and ask questions. Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Good afternoon. It is NFL Divisional Sunday. Sports Box has you getting ready for it. Brian Attard, Tony Quigley, Anthony Medio, Drew Trammell. I am back from a very extended Disney trip and I'm spending my first day back with y'all. So you are all just should be very welcome for that. Gentlemen, did you miss me? Probably not.
No.
Probably not.
I was praying for the sun when you were down there.
Praying for the what?
Sun.
That was actually nice and cloudy.
Yeah, some
rain
spaces you
here.
catch a little. Listen, I'll give you credit. You spent a lot of time in Disney. Yeah, I mean, I guess you're trying to replace Goofy.
Well, if you took a picture of my son and my wife with Goofy and did it next to me, it'd be like the Pam meme from The Office, so the same picture. So
that is true. That is true.
So it is divisional.
Our fantasy money down there too.
Hey, I mean that our league pays for probably about one meal at a good restaurant down there, and it's very expensive, and that's okay. A lot to talk about today. We'll be looking at yesterday's games, kind of looking around the teams that lost last week and where they go from here, and obviously preparing for the games of the day. We will kick it off with the AFC divisional matchup, the Baltimore Ravens and the Houston Texans. And, this game, I think, even though the score was 34-10, was actually not as close as that score would indicate. This is the first divisional win for Lamar Jackson, 16 of 22, 152 and 2 touchdowns with another 100 on the ground and 2 touchdowns. CJ Stroud just could not figure out this Ravens defense, 19 for 30 throughout. That's not correct. 175 yards. Baltimore's first AFC championship game since 2012. Lamar has struggled in this spot. First time he's gotten through it. But I didn't get a chance to watch most of this game. I caught some of it in an airport. But it looked like the Baltimore defense was just flying around, making things very difficult for him. And I think that in many ways may have been the difference in the game. But Lamar played well as well.
Yeah, so we're going to give the former MVP Lamar Jackson some credit here. 100 yards on the ground, threw 2 touchdowns, ran for 2 touchdowns. I mean, the adjustment made after halftime from the Baltimore Ravens defense really was the difference of the key. Stroud couldn't get anything going in the second half, and that kind of took it off. They went away from Nico Collins, who's been a beast this year. He's been phenomenal year. Only 1 or 2 targets in the second half, and that really kind of set the tone for him. This is kind of what we expected. I mean, you get a nice try award to the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud and all that kind of stuff. But, at the end of the day, I think this was the outcome most expected.
Yeah, it just seemed like the Texans were overwhelmed. I mean, the Ravens defense was just suffocating pretty much all day. I believe the Texans were not inside the 25 of the Ravens all day, which is pretty incredible for the way the Texans have been playing lately. Offensively, I mean, the Ravens struggled a little bit in the first half, but made those adjustments in the second half, and Lamar looked great, man. He took over with his legs. They had some creative play calls on a couple of 3rd and shorts, a 4th down they called that they got. I thought the play calling was awesome. Lamar's got the weapons, Likely's a beast. Zay Flowers played a hell of a game, and they got production out of the running game. Hill, Gus, and you even saw Cook. So I mean, they had everything going yesterday. The Ravens, the crowd was there, they were in it. Really expected that. So Ravens are a good team, man. Defense is real. Hamilton was back. They were flying around. Made it tough.
Yeah, and you see they combined for over 200 yards rushing, on that Ravens team, which is against this Texans team that was pretty solid against the run all year. I got to get them credit for that.
Yeah, biggest thing I would take away from this game is the 2 things: time of possession, 37 minutes for Baltimore. They really controlled the clock, especially in the second half. Tony alluded to the adjustments were made from the offensive coordinator from Baltimore. They brilliant run plays for Lamar, kept everything open. He did the simple things that he needed to do to win this game. My X factor was the Houston Texans online. They didn't hold up, and which I think
false starts.
A lot of false starts.
Crazy.
Really rattled. Really young team. You saw the inexperience. But that I think that field goal at the end of the first half, Brian, is what really because that good gave you so much momentum going into halftime, being up by 3 against a vaunted Baltimore team. But hats off and credit to Harbaugh and to this coaching staff for making the adjustments. Very crucial in the second half. And I think Ant or Tone said it, 4th down, 2 for 2. I mean, those are two big downs and then to convert against once again, it's a young, experienced Houston team, and I think the future is bright for them. They need weapons, they need help, and I think they'll get that back with hopefully a revamped Tank Dell and add a couple pieces here and there. But overall, man, it's a good year for Houston, and it's even better year for Baltimore and LJ quieting his critics, because now he gets to go to a conference championship game, which is what we're all waiting for to see what he could do to get to the next step.
Yeah, I went back. I don't think that they've had the championship. I mean, obviously, they haven't had a championship game since 2012, but they haven't really had. I mean, their losses have largely been the last couple of years have been on the road. I mean, I think it was big for them in the home game, obviously. But yeah, look, you're going to get a tough test, right? So whoever you play next round is going to be one of these AFC powers that people thought were going to either. The Chiefs won last year.
Yeah, but look at who the Ravens have beaten this year. They've beaten every good team. They haven't lost to any of their.
That's true. They have been better against good teams.
Yeah, I mean, they're not even phased. So
I mean, I think from start to finish, the Ravens have definitely been the best team in the NFL. I don't think that's the debate. I mean, the way San Francisco has been playing, probably, but they still had that bad stretch, right? They still had that bad stretch when they came in.
Yeah.
Baltimore's been consistent. They're beating up on everybody, and whoever survives, and I say survives, this Buffalo KC game is going to have a real big test, and I expect Mark Andrews to be back. They won that 2 tight end set too with Likely and Andrews now. I mean, it just makes them more weapons, and I think anybody watching the game in the Philadelphia area, maybe even if Sirianni's still here or Brian Johnson's still here or whoever, you might want to use your running quarterback as a runner in the playoffs when it matters, because how they use Jalen Hurts, whatever excuse, whatever. No, it's money time, and they could easily try to baby him, and they let Lamar Jackson loose, and it was obvious. And that touchdown run he had, when Gus Edwards hit that key block. I mean, that was just beautiful.
Yeah,
you have a running quarterback, you need to do that, and there's a reason why. And I know, and you see the efficiency of Josh Allen right now, and how he's been running. And listen, it's another weapon. I mean, especially when you catch a team with man-day or something like that,
you can't defend it.
So they let Lamar loose, and he kicked up.
Do you think that there is a better matchup for them between Buffalo or Kansas City?
Oh, they got to play Buffalo. Kansas City's defense could give them a problem. They're going to give Buffalo a problem tonight. But I think if you're the Ravens, you'd want to see Buffalo.
I'm saying I think Kansas City's a better matchup. I just think that if the game is a sloppy, low-scoring defensive game, I think that they have better playmakers than, i.e., Lamar Jackson or somebody who can make something happen in Kansas City. Because what you see Kansas City, we got a whole fun bunch coming in.
Sorry.
Everyone's home.
Sorry about that. My nephew just showed up.
It is later in the day than we normally come on.
I don't know what. Yeah. But yeah, I think if you need something, I think Kansas City has a little bit more offensive weapons. I think Buffalo could get into a shootout with Baltimore if need be. I don't think KC can. I mean, Rashee Rice has been phenomenal, but other than that, I'm not even depending on Travis Kelce anymore to pull out.
Yeah, I'm with Quig. Kansas City's a better matchup, in my opinion, for Baltimore. The only reason why I say that, Brian and Ant, is because that offense. I know what Rashee Rice did last week, but that was against a defense that just is non-existent in Miami. So Buffalo can do enough defensively, but that offense for Buffalo is still scary. I know Baltimore's defense is great, but if there's a guy that I need, like Tony just alluded to, Quig just alluded to, was having the running factor. And I know Mahomes can run, but those design runs for Josh Allen is what makes him better. It's his bread and butter. You implement that with the play action. It's going to be nasty for Baltimore's defense. But honestly, Brian, it's one of those things you can flip apart. because I
Yeah,
can
I mean,
see positive and negatives on both sides.
I can come back and talk about Baltimore's linebackers. I mean, who's better than Queen and Roquan Smith to play against someone like Josh Allen? So, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's an argument. Yeah, absolutely.
One of the most sneakiest pickups, I don't think we talked a lot. I'm not crazy about him. I think he benefits from what you said, Tom. I mean, Ant is Divisional Clowney. I mean, he's been a run-stopping force, not having to do much. So it's one of the quiet stories that people haven't talked about. He's been a good addition piece for Baltimore on the line.
His win rate too on pass pressures is insane too. He's top 5 in win rate.
Yeah, he's very effective.
And it's something that he kind of needs to get a little bit more credit to. But yeah, that Baltimore defense, I think
you see how good they are when Hamilton comes back. He came back and he's back in that secondary. Man, that defense is
so underrated.
It's crazy.
But that's what they've been, right? They've been a defensively stout team for a very long time. This is not something that's just new.
Ray Lewis has been stabbing people.
Yeah,
that's right.
I mean, I talked about it all the time. It seems like these players always fall into Baltimore's lap.
We just talked about Patrick Queen, right? Everybody and their mother watched Patrick Queen at LSU just dominate. Stud,
like a
leg defense was everything like that. And he gets to the NFL and people just are like,
we passed him. We passed him up.
He knows how to use a linebacker and coach him up and utilize him. And here he is. He's a freaking stud.
Like
we passed him up for K&J.
Guys follow them all the time. Suggs back in the day, like everybody. It's crazy.
Yeah, they just rotate it. They just backfill. Guys retire, guys move on, and they just keep filling it. And that's been their strength for a very, very long time. Last night in the NFC divisional matchup, the 49ers survived, and I do mean survived, the game against the Packers, a 24-21 win. Brock Purdy, 23 of 39, 252 and a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey on the ground, 17 for 98 and 2 scores. Jordan Love, 21 of 34, 2 touchdowns, but 2 picks, including the winner at the end, the winner for San Francisco. Aaron Jones was big on the ground, 18 for 108. This is the 3rd straight NFC Championship game appearance for the 49ers. They're 4th in 5 years. They have been as good as you can be without really seeing a lot of success for it, but for the most part, they were healthy, except for Debo's injury. We'll see where that goes. You can look at this, I guess, from both sides. Do you give a lot of the same things you say about Houston, a team on the road in a tough spot against a really good team that's been there before, and the young quarterback doesn't really do as well as you want him to do? Because, Love, he's pretty reckless, I think, with at least the last pick. The Greenlaw first one was
bad. That was bad.
Listen, I just want to know how all of a sudden Darnell Savage can't catch, right? Because last weekend against Dallas, he took that pick 6. He wrote him right in the hand. He took it 6. If he makes that catch the same exact play he made the week before, this is a different ball game. I'm giving 1,000%. I'm viewing this game as, first of all, 2 things. One is the Packers gave this game away. The 49ers didn't win this game. And the other thing, too, is, and I've been saying this for a while, is every time you watch Brock Purdy play, if he's not throwing to an open receiver, you're kind of like, don't throw, and then the next thing you know, he throws it. They're winning a lot of times despite him, and it's crazy too, because some of the throws he makes, and wet ball or not, or whatever you want to say last night, it's just like he makes some really, really bad throws, and somehow he gets away with it. He's like the luckiest quarterback in the NFL.
It came out last night, man. It came out last night, and everyone's like, "Oh, okay." So
even in the playoffs last year, he threw a couple balls that you were like, "How does he not get that intercepted? How did he drop that interception?" And then until he got hurt, But that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, this guy is dipped in gold when he comes to that kind of stuff.
You could say that like they don't ask him to do a whole lot, but that's what he is, right? I mean, like everybody, he was the last pick of the draft. Like
he threw 39 times, Brian. He isn't being a game manager.
Yeah, but I think that's because they were losing.
Whatever the reason is, he still dropped
back.
I
was sitting on my flight. I was watching it on some dude's phone, like a row in front of me that had it on his phone, because I was trying to watch Star Wars on my iPad, but I was trying to keep tabs on it. And I'm like, what is going on?
What?
Who watches a 40-year-old movie instead of a freaking NFL playoff game? That hosts the fucking NFL show.
Okay. I knew what was going on. I kept my eye on
research.
It was fine. It was good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I everything Tony said is true. I mean, Green Bay lost this game, and that last throw was horrendous. The first interception, kind of a bad throw, but he's got to catch that. I think that was Kraft, if I'm not mistaken, 85, the tight end for the Packers. That ball's right here. Do they hit his hands?
Yeah.
That momentum change, and then obviously the Savage thing, picking that ball, change of direction. The kicker making the field goal, misses it. I mean, it's a lot of mistakes that were self-driven. That is the reason why Green Bay lost this game last night. I was at a wedding last night. I had to watch the game this morning. Just to get ready for today. I'm not watching Star Wars. And that wedding last night, we're updating the whole time, this and that. I had to look at the team stats. And Brian, I mean, looking at these team stats and looking at the game, its totality, Green Bay only had one penalty the whole entire game.
Oh, yeah.
San Francisco, 6 penalties for 83 yards. Time of possession, Green Bay was above. They won. Obviously, San Francisco won the turnover battle, but I mean, everything else, if you guys look at it, gentlemen, they're similar. Total yards, almost the same. Only 20-yard difference. Total plays, 62 to 64. Third down efficiency, they're both the same. So, I mean, San Francisco has a problem. There's something when something isn't right. Now, I'm starting to agree with the people that I was going against because I thought Brock was turning the leaf in a sense, where he could be the vocal point of this offense. Debo goes out, which I have another issue with because I think that guy's fragile. It's
his mouth is strong.
It's a lot of issues with this offense that doesn't seem like it's working. Like there's problems here. Ayuk is stepping up, right? I like Ayuk, but he's not doing enough there. Kittle is reminding us what he is, but thank God they had that offensive line in CMC. Honestly, like, if CMC wasn't there, I think there would be a bigger loss last night and a bigger issue with this team in general. We talk about running backs don't matter. That mother effing running back matters in this team and in this offense.
He's just a playmaker. The other thing too is like I was scratching my head because Debo went out, right? And it was like he's going to play, he's not going to play, he's not going to play, he's coming in. Okay. But then there's a point at the game where they're like, okay, Debo's done. And then they have Jawan Johnson in the backfield and they run a play for him. Why is that in your playbook? If that's
I don't know.
If he's taking Debo's spot, you don't run that play. You have Christian McCaffrey. You have a lot of guys that can do it way better. Why waste the play like that just because it's his? Like that doesn't make no sense. That really scratched my head. But if you think about, we talked about it earlier about the other game, the slide that the 49ers had earlier in this year. It started with Debo getting hurt, and then Trent got hurt, and then it's a bigger loss than people think because Brock Purdy throws to more wide open receivers than besides Jordan Love last week. It just shocks me. It's such a great scheme. It's such a great game plan. And, he's always throwing to open receivers and you don't have to throw a great ball when these guys are always open. So it's an easy decision. So Debo, if he can't play next week for whatever reason, that's going to be a big, big factor.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Well, again, Purdy is as good as the players around him. He's not going to be the reason the team wins a game. He's not. He's not that kind of guy.
Right? And the MVP talk was ridiculous.
Completely ridiculous. But that's because who would they give it to?
Well, I mean,
CMC.
But it's
this year has been terrible when it comes to quarterback play.
But the award has devolved into the quarterback on the team with the most wins. So obviously that's why he was there, because they were ahead at the time. And everybody thought, and up until the Ravens game, they thought they're going to win that game. And if they do, it's a whole different story.
Let's not entirely devalue that last final drive, though. I mean, that last final drive, he did get his team in position to win the game. So I will give him. You got to give him credit for being able to get to that throw he did to Ayuk and the mini post in the middle. That was a beautiful throw, right? I mean, we talked about it before. Those throws, you got to make those throws, regardless of how bad you're playing or how inconsistent you are. That final drive, Brian, we talk about the difference of winners and losers in the postseason. Those are winning throws, and he got his team in the position to win. Somehow, some way, this team won. And it's crazy that we're talking about it because we should be talking about Jordan Love and the Packers winning this game, and we're not.
But again, see, like, to me, right, there's been a lot of hype, a ton of hype on Jordan Love in like the past like 6 weeks, right? And they
Not
played.
hype.
Hold on,
Why would you say type?
because he was very bad at the start of the year, got a little bit
Right.
better. Then the schedule opened up, and all of a sudden he's Joe Montana, right? So it's like you can look at it from the standpoint of, I need to see more of that from you, because again, the crowning of this kid like this soon, like this team lost to the Giants in New York not that long ago. Like we said a couple weeks ago when they were 6 and something, 5 and something, like their schedule really opened up towards the once they beat the Chiefs, it really got high because they beat the Chiefs, right? But every game after that, like it wasn't against some very quality opponent, and the Cowboys folded last week as far as I'm concerned. So like again, in that spot, I don't think Love came up first playoff run.
Since week 12, and that's before the Kansas City game.
Here it comes.
He's been the
Here it
best
comes.
quarterback in the NFL. So I mean,
and
honestly, he's carried it over. He carried it over to the Dallas game. He played phenomenal against Dallas, phenomenal. And for whatever reason, there's receivers running opening all over the place in that game. But you know what? I'll bring it up again just because we were a Philly fan base. Jalen Hurts had a lot of receivers running open too that he didn't find, and so did Dak Prescott. A lot of open receivers that he didn't find. So I mean, listen, there has to be something said for a quarterback's ability to find the open guy. Yeah. It's pretty simple. It's and Jordan Love was able to do it. And I've been, and I was solidly, I don't know how much he benefited from sitting behind Aaron Rodgers. From an Aaron Rodgers Green Bay perspective, it was a stupid pick. But when you look at the position now and in playing, you know what? You gotta say, well, they're in this position. They kind of wasted a couple of years, in my opinion. But if they view he was a top 10 guy in the league, that potentially, you got to give him.
Yeah, I know. 14 touchdowns to 3 picks in the last 11 games.
I mean, for me, it's kind of bittersweet. You kind of like Packers lose. That's great.
You got to sit there and watch another Packers quarterback become amazing.
Exactly. Then now I'm like, is this another one that's coming through? So it's like watching that this whole half of the season unfold. I'm thinking to myself, here we fucking go again. Packers got a quarterback. We're gonna fuck the number 1 pick up. It's just gonna be a disaster again.
Well, I asked Stu Feiner what he thought about this game. Right, here's what he thought about it.
Doesn't matter. Aaron Rodgers. No Aaron Rodgers. Doesn't matter.
Because again, Green Bay just can't seem to get past the Niners in the playoffs. A couple of years now. So
yeah.
There's that.
Aaron Jones crushed the end of the season. Just absolutely carried.
He was absolutely huge. For him.
He really got it, and all those guys are young. That's the thing.
Well, a quick for the wild card round. We'll start with the Browns. I was able to pop on your guys' show in the morning last week, and that was after the Browns had lost. And we said, the Browns defense was a lot different away from home than in Cleveland. And I think that's a huge storyline and why everything went down the way it went down. You are a team playing on their third or fourth quarterback. At the time it got there, it's kind of a modern miracle this team was where it was, but it was led by the defense. The question now becomes, where do you go into next season? You're obviously going to get the ball to Deshaun Watson again. I mean, I don't think you have a choice. So, what do you see in Cleveland?
Well, you get healthy. You're gonna get your number 1 running back back. Back. I mean, if I was them, you try to hold on to Joe Flacco if you can. So I mean, Cleveland. We saw the talent. They have talent on the roster, so we just have to maybe improve in a couple spots, probably on the defensive back end, in my opinion. And you roll into next season.
Is Laporta playing?
Flacco needs to be on the roster, but it's going to be a difficult situation if he is, because there's going to be a huge following that's going to be calling from the start at quarterback. He did. I mean, I think it's pretty easy. You take Deshaun Watson down, you have him watch Joe Flacco take listen, these are the same guys you played with, and look what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Throw the ball to Njoku, make the easy read, and then with Nick Chubb back and that defense, I mean, I think they'll be poised to have a good run. And they know, I don't know. It might be a quick trigger on Watson. You know, I mean, they have so much invested on him. But how well Flacco played, you know, you can't discount it.
They did have 5 wins when he went down. They were a winning ball club. I mean, they were winning. They were winning games. He just didn't look impressive. He didn't look like
bad. They were winning because of their defense and the running game.
Because of their defense, yeah.
I don't know, Brian. I don't have an answer for it. Honestly, if you keep Joe Flacco, it's a distraction because fans are going to be clamoring to him and say start him. But then you have all this contract hoopla with Deshaun Watson and how much he's making, how much they traded for him, and all that stuff. So I think you know they're in a catch-22 in the essence of what we're talking about right now. I mean, I don't know what you do for Cleveland. I mean, you have talent on both sides of the ball. Remember, this team was down like 4 starting offensive linemen and still made the playoffs. I mean, there's talent there. Is Nick Chubb going to come back the same? That's a gruesome injury. But they have Ford. So I mean, it's not really. I mean, it's a difference, but it's not a big difference from a running back standpoint. But I don't know, man. I honestly like. There's going to be quarterbacks that will be free agents that you can look into But what are you going to do? Is Deshaun Watson? You invested so much into him.
Yeah, you got to go with him.
You roll Watson out. Watson's the starter day one. You have to end the controversy. And Flacco has the demeanor to help you. Hey, I'm the backup. But you also have to realize that Watson has to realize he has to take a hard look in the mirror and say, "Listen, I got to be." And then if not, if he's not performing, you got to go back to Flacco.
Can you see some like storyline correlations between this situation and Wentz and Philly, where you have a guy who you put a lot into, big contract, and all of a sudden he gets hurt, somebody else comes in and they succeed. Now, not to the Eagles level, right? But they did.
No, because
now
Flacco wasn't good in the last game he lost.
Yeah, he threw 2 pick sixes.
Yeah,
either win the Super Bowl.
No, I'm not saying like that level of success, but you have a guy who the team's committed to, they invest a lot into. That guy gets hurt, somebody else comes in, and they take the team where the other guy wasn't going to take them.
Oh, it's the same as the Denver Broncos situation of getting rid of Russell Wilson. Now they're saying that they're probably not going to do it. But I mean, what do you do from there? You traded so much away and signed a mega contract. Are you taking the dead cap and getting rid of Deshaun? No, you have to roll with it, man. You have to.
And Flacco understands. He understands.
Yeah. He's so cool.
And he's not a quarterback that's 10 years younger that's going to be causing issues in the locker room and stuff like that. I mean, before he started his run, he was on the couch. Now he's going to get a big boy NFL paycheck for hopefully never playing again. Like, I mean, think about it, like Daniel Tosh, the comedian, has a great thing. You know, he went on about like Brett Favre playing. You know, like, oh, how much do you want to play? Oh, how much do you want to pay me? All right, I'll play again. You know, I'll play again. Okay, now I'm dead. Okay, now I'm be a backup quarterback. For how much you gonna pay me? $7 million. Okay, I'll be a backup quarterback. You know.
Yeah.
And like, and Flacco will have the same thing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is just going to pat his pocket a little bit, and it'll pat his pocket a great deal. The only thing that the Browns are really going to screw this up if they let Flacco walk, because then that's an issue.
But they did draft that backup quarterback. They drafted what's his name?
Mike White?
No.
DTR?
Yeah.
He's a different DTR is a different style player, and he had and I watched him play a lot in UCLA. He was a Chip Kelly product.
Yeah.
He's not for the current team that they have now, and he actually won the game this year, which is kind of impressive. He's not what they're going to need to win right now. He's a highly developmental quarterback.
Yeah.
What do you do in Miami? Because there's talk of do they commit to Tua, do they not commit to Tua? That's the big one, I think. Because again, it's they were flying high to start the year. We all thought like, look, I mean, the offense is the offense, but like, what's it going to be like later on? Defense is only okay, and then they just kind of crashed and burned. And I don't think anybody was surprised they lost in Kansas City. Like, the way everything played out, that was kind of easy to determine. But what do you do? So are you comfortable signing this guy to a mega deal? Is the question.
No.
Who, Tua?
Yes.
Sign him. Absolutely sign him. You don't have a replacement coming in that's gonna change what he's doing. He has the rapport. You need a healthy Wally. You need a healthy Tyreek Hill. Jalen Phillips going down killed that team defensively. I mean, they were playing they were actually a solid defensive team before he went down with the Achilles tear. You just have to basically. My thing would be running back. You're not in a position to get a top quality quarterback to replace him. And Tua had a good year. You know what I'm saying? So the production at the end of the year and everything like that, and their success wasn't where you want it to be. Still hung on to a playoff spot. Still got them where they needed to be. And I think if they went in there a little bit healthier and I just don't think that they're in a position right now to kind of get rid of him. I don't think they're in a position around to get a developmental quarterback behind them that would have more potential than him. That running game, is also impressive. So I'm not, Tua is going to be that guy that's never going to be the reason you win a game, but he shouldn't be the reason you lose too many games either. So, I mean, I think he's solid. I think that they're going to have to do it.
If Lions win the NFC, Chris Van, who would they get if not Tua? Again, it's a fair question.
That's always and that's the thing I bring up when everybody talks about replacing quarterbacks and Brian, you're always like, get rid of Dak. Okay, Well, who are we putting in? Cooper fucking Rush? No.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the problem. If you don't have somebody a succession plan in for or at least have a high draft pick, like Ants Browns are in a perfect Bears are in a perfect position. If they don't like Fields and they don't like that, they're in a position now they could go out and get somebody that they actually like. These other teams aren't. And it's tough. Like, it's tough to try to hit a home run on a third, fourth round quarterback all the time.
But I think the not having a fallback option is not always. I get that argument, but look at the Giants. They signed Daniel Jones because they had nobody else. For the only reason, right? I mean, you can really make it. I don't know of any other reason you'd make at that point, right?
Quarterback play in the NFL has been horrible, and there's not enough good quarterbacks out there that teams could have two of them. It just doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. We just talked about pulling Joe Flacco off the freaking couch. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Right. McMurray, great point.
Yeah.
And he would know about bad quarterback play at the Titans. But you're talking – but listen, the Miami's biggest issue is that they should have never put themselves in a position to have to worry about that last game in Buffalo to drop them down to the 7th seed. That's their biggest issue.
6, but
I don't know. I can't get the thought out of this Miami team. The word soft out of the word Miami. Like they go to they can't play. It seems like they can't go out anywhere. They can't play in the cold weather. They fold up against these the bigger teams. I just feel like that there's something about this team that just I just feel they're so soft.
It's the temperature and the colors.
They don't travel. They don't travel well. Like I said, they don't play well against the Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles. They weren't even close in those games.
The franchise has always been soft, even when you're a little kid.
I mean, it's like, how do you get rid of that? It's just how do you get rid of that mentality as an organization, because it just follows you.
Yeah, listen, dude. A lot of issues in Miami, and one of them said it right now. Joe did. If you could bring that comment up, Brian. They did horrible against good teams all year. So that is a point that we need to talk about. The other issue is that even with that defense out, Tony, with Phillips and Bradley Chubb and all those guys being out, who made it underrated. They were very underrated in the power rushing department. That defense, Brian, against Kansas City in the first half, people forget they held Kansas City, I believe, to 13. So that offense needs to do something. You got to do something to just only put up 7 points. I mean, regardless if it's bad weather or not, or tough weather or not, you still it's the playoffs, bro. Just like you said earlier, it's the playoffs. I need my money to be cashed.
That was the worst matchup that you could. That was the worst matchup. We talk about how good Kansas City's defense has been all year. That is the worst matchup for Miami last week. I mean, it just was an awful matchup. It was just like one of them things. It's like Styles makes fights. That was a windy, cold environment for a team from Miami. It's just against a good defense. That's just a recipe for disaster, and it was.
Well, that's their fault though, because they should have done something against Buffalo. Even that offensive Buffalo didn't do shit.
Yeah,
They put themselves in the position 4 weeks ago to get their dick knocked in the dirt in Kansas City.
Right.
Drew, listen, you said you thought they were going to lose out at one point.
Yeah.
Like you did not believe at all in them. So it's like they kind of proved you right in the end. They just took a rounding road to get there.
I didn't think they were going to make the postseason, but they did somehow. But yeah, it's also a Mike McDaniel issue. I think a lot of it, his adjustments are not there in the second half. The play calling now he's relinquished. I can't say the word. Relinquishing the play calling to another person. It's just like, dude, like, okay, what are we doing? What's the identity of Miami? If the passing isn't going to work, the rushing should work. But Mostert only had 8 carries in the game against Kansas City. That annoys me. Tua had one of the worst QBRs. If you guys like advanced analytics like Brian does, 15.5. I mean, it's just. You have Waddle, you have Hill, you have these guys. Let me finish. Hold on, I'm gonna start.
No,
and I just want to say this: what happened to the world of where I have to sign this guy to a mega deal? Why can I do a franchise tag, which the Giants should have done with Daniel Jones? There's a plethora of quarterbacks.
Do you want to know why? But here's why.
Better quarterbacks.
The Dolphins are $52 million over the cap next year.
Yeah, the cap
number is a full number.
Okay,
like you do these deals because it pushes it out into the future. And keeps
just like they do
now. Like Jalen Hurts' number was not that high this year.
Let me ask you this: how would we be viewing the Miami Dolphins season if they held on to that 2 seed? Okay, yeah. Pittsburgh goes into Miami last week. Miami beats Pittsburgh. That's
right.
And now they're going to find themselves in the same position they were last week in Kansas City, right?
KC was the 3.
Kansas City was the 3. So now they would be in Miami. That's what I'm saying. That fall from grace that they had at the end of the year, it put them in this situation. They would have had an easy road, and not easy. Listen, beating Kansas City anywhere isn't always easy.
They would have been home,
but they were going to be home, and that's what you want. So I mean, it's a whole. That's what I'm saying. Like you got to take care of business at the end of the year. It's just simple as that, and they failed.
I don't trust Tua. I have to see more. I know that he's in an offense that a lot of quarterbacks would love to have, including AKA Justin Fields. But it's what I wanted to see more from him when things are not going all the way perfect for him, including the defense that's bandaged and hurt. So I mean, I wanted to see a little bit more of a fight with that offense, Brian. That's all I wanted to see. You said just 7 points. I understand that's the number 2 defense, but I that offense is so superior. I wanted to see more, but we'll see next year. I'm not quitting on Tua, right? I want to see another year of production, and hopefully they can get healthy at the end of the year and be better. But
if you said you had another option to go with, then I don't think anybody would be opposed to that. But
I'd be interested to see a running quarterback in that offense. That'd be,
oh my god!
See what Mike McDaniels could do with that. That'd be interesting to see.
Who? Justin Fields?
Anybody? Yeah, a quarterback that could run.
No,
I'd rather watch Tyreek Hill run.
I think the Chiefs played in a colder game last week than Buffalo did. So even with the snow, right? I'll go last. I don't care. Whatever, have it. I'll go last.
Why all we're gonna hear from you is Dak's fault, Dak this and Dak that. So you might as well just go first.
Listen, I'll jump in as the Cowboys fan as well because I know I'm not going to just blame Dak. I have to blame the entire team, starting with Mike McCarthy first of all. Here's the thing: when we the two failures of the NFC East this past weekend was put 2 completely different scenarios, right? One of the issues is you have Mike McCarthy doing what he always does, unprepared team. I saw decent effort from the Cowboys. I saw them flying around the ball. I saw them trying to play, and they were way out of position. Scheme did not fit. Quinn's smaller linebackers, and shout out to Marquise Bell, local kid. Green Bay lined up and power ran right at them. And Quinn likes those hybrid guys. And they got out schemed. There's way too many guys open all over the place. Green Bay just ran them right off the ball. Dallas's draft last year, and this isn't a Jerry Jones issue. This is a Will McClay issue because he's the one who drafted him. Was absolutely horrible. They drafted a run stopper, Mazzie Smith. Shout out to National Championship, Michigan.
The Michigan guy.
He did awful. I didn't think he should have been the pick then. I hope for the best, but
that was a shocking pick. When it was an eyebrow raiser when they picked.
Well, when they said Smith, but it was Nolan.
It raised a big eyebrow, and like I said, if you're going to get you don't need to draft a run stopper that doesn't really do much there. And they got beat up and they got out physical and they got negated. And then offensively, they ran the ball more offensively than I've seen them run the ball all year in the first half. And going into the game, I wasn't really worried about it because the Packers secondary was so poor that you're going to expose it. You're going to go out there and attack them. But what do you try to do? You try to give Pollard had like 10 carries in the first half. It seems like what are you just giving up possessions here? And it's an awful run blocking line, and they try to power run. It messed
the passing game up too. I mean, you could tell their passing game. The passing game was so off.
What?
It was off because
I'm done in 15.
If you get your team always in a negative position, 2nd and 10, 3rd and long, everything like that, it makes everything more difficult. And it's just one of the things where they just were not prepared. They were out game planned. They were out executed. Everything. I don't know if they thought that Packers team was going to roll up and die just by coming to Dallas. But you know what? We watched it way too long. And whenever the Cowboys and Packers play, strange things happen, and especially in the playoffs. And it was a nightmare. The score was closer than what game was, and that's kind of crazy. Dak didn't have a great game. He made some huge mistakes. We talked about the savage interceptions earlier. Hit him right in the hands. He took it back. CeeDee Lamb was visibly pissed off. There's a lot of things going on. And I think this was a game that if the Cowboys really sat back and rewatched it, they would say, you know what, we're idiots because it could be a simple game. You get the ball to your best player, and that was CeeDee Lamb, and he didn't do that enough, even though he did have a big game, but that was in catch-up. That should have been a game plan, and it just wasn't. And defensively, they were all over the place. They had no clue, no preparation for what Green Bay was going to do on offense. You got to give Green Bay a lot of credit. And I think you've seen the coaching and how it affected last night too, and where they put them in possession. They should have beat the 49ers. So, it was a big surprise. But you know what? Watching the game, Cowboys got beat up. No other way about it.
Yeah, I mean, Drew and I talked about it on the show. For the Packers to win that game, they pretty much had to do what the Bills did to the Cowboys. Almost a repeat of that. I mean, they ran the ball right at them, took control of them, and really took the heart right out of the Cowboys in that game. And it felt like that's what happened in that game also. I mean, the Packers came to play. They took it right to them. And the Cowboys looked so dysfunctional in the beginning. It was kind of very perplexing from a team coming off, the wins they had. It was weird. It was weird to see. It just didn't look right in the beginning.
And you've seen it last night in last night's game, right? You had a rookie coach in D'Amico Ryans. You got a rookie quarterback, right? In against the Baltimore, they started out. They had a good game plan going into the game, and they executed. Now you guys got a guy like McCarthy and Dak who are veterans with playoff experience and everything like that. Their game plan starting the game was awful. That should never be. You can see. Shout out to everybody's favorite in Philly, Andy Reid. He chased him out. Andy Reid never makes second half adjustments, right? That was his big deal in Philly. Never made second half adjustments. You kind of understand that if coaches aren't good on the fly making adjustments, but being prepared to start the game is something that is inexcusable as a coach. And Mike McCarthy, time after time again in the playoffs throughout his career, and you're talking about a guy who went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, Hall of Famers, step down to Dak Prescott, but still a good quarterback. Can't get it done. He and the fact that they re-endorsed him for one more year is disheartening. But I'm guessing because the coaches that they wanted to target were interested.
They got out-coached in every facet of this game. You know what? Here's where I'm going to give Matt LaFleur an absolute ton of credit. They won the toss and they took the ball because they knew if they could get up on this team, that all the ghosts in their head from all these years of doing absolutely nothing would come up and they would screw themselves. And that's exactly what happened. Why Dan Quinn starts to run a bunch of zone coverage after running man all year and being really good at it, you're never going to figure that answer out. But that's exactly what Green Bay did. They said you can't let Dallas come to you, right? They took the ball and they wanted to score. To quote Matt Hasselbeck, they wanted to put themselves ahead and make the Cowboys play from behind, which I don't think they've done much at all in that building all year. The pressure was all on the Cowboys, and they knew if they got them behind and got them to screw up, they would fold like a cheap suit, and they did. And the idea that Mike McCarthy's coming back next year is ridiculous because you lost that game. None of what you did in the regular season mattered. You lost the game. A lot of people said this. If not now, when for the Cowboys? The road was there. They weren't going to play San Fran until the title game. You had home games where you won 15, 16 games in a row, and you lost in explosive, ugly fashion. I don't know that they can recover from this, right? I don't. They're going to have to extend that because the cap numbers are high. They have no choice. They could have made a change of head coach. They chose not to. Next year is the same thing. It's not going to matter until the wild card round if they get there. The regular season is irrelevant to them. They'll make the playoffs because they're a good regular season team. When the pressure's on, they're going to fold again. That's what these people do.
All right. So I want to address a couple of comments, and then I'll say what I need to say. Dak and the coaches were simply outplayed and outcoached that game. I agree with the outcoach part. I agree with the Dak part, but I'm getting sick and tired of people not blaming this defense. This defense still got worked. Like Stephon Gilmore, I don't know what the hell. He was on skates the entire game. Go watch the game. Go watch the game. You want to talk about zone coverage and this and that, whatever. We could talk about it, and we can get into the X's and O's of defense. But when you are getting worked by Romeo Dobbs, when you've been such a pretty solid corner for the majority of the season, and I don't know what the hell he was thinking that entire game, but the defense was completely wide open. Bland continually gets worked on the inside ends and slants, and he allows the coverage to come inside. No pressure whatsoever by Micah Parsons getting double blocked. Micah Parsons needs a buddy. He needs a buddy to rush. The defense was exposed, and some of the things that you said, Brian, this year, it made sense. Once again, we got frizzled because of the schedule. I think Dallas was pretenders this entire time, but there's also another exception to that. The whole dynamic of the beginning of the game. Did you guys seem kind of fishy? How the announcers kept on talking about CeeDee Lamb and Dak, and how like their relationship, like there must have been an argument or there must have been a fallout because they kept highlighting both of them at the beginning of the game. It was a little weird. Like why all of a sudden you guys may have issues now in the playoff game? Like I don't know why that was such a story to tell.
Because they were running the ball.
But why bring it up right away though? Like in the first quarter.
So Drew, you coach, right? So the only way that could happen, okay, that I could see as a somewhat acceptable excuse is, and why CD would get so mad so early in regards to us running the ball. You're looking at is Dak checking out of the play call? Is the play call coming in that and CD's like, okay, I'm ready to do my thing, and Dak's checking out to a run. That's the only thing I can say, and then that would be completely on Dak. And he does have that freelance in the offense, so I think that's a big thing that you have to look at. That's the only reason, because if not, it was way too early in the game, and for him not to be touching the ball and for them to blow up like that.
Right. Yeah, some kind of miscommunication happened. There's definitely something going on.
Yeah, listen. I'll finish up with this. What's the definition of insanity? It's what Jerry Jones has been doing this entire time. And so, I mean, until and when people give, I'm a victim of this as well. Saying if he dies, I think the Dallas will be better.
You just say Jerry Jones because he's the one who moved to LA football to LA. Yeah. I mean, that's true. Look it up.
No, it's true. He was a component of that. I agree with you, but I just think. Listen. This entire thing, the Dallas Cowboys, the talent everywhere. I fall in love with Dak. I love Dak. Dak got outplayed by Jordan Love. I agree with you, Brian. But still, if you want to use the same narrative for Tua, you got to use the same narrative for Dak. There's no way that you're going to find a quarterback that's better than him right now, unless you're in a position to see. Dak was still an all-pro this year. He still did his thing. I think he's improved in very facets of the game. And whatever Joe just said right now is 1,000% true. I think Dak is very similar to Philip Rivers. I really do. Because the only difference is Dak can extend the play.
Yeah.
What am I doing, Drew? What am I doing right now? What am I doing right now? It's a rocking chair.
But still, bro, like it's football, dude. You're not gonna find guys that are gonna be boom game changers and this and that. You saw it last night with Brock Purdy, Brian. Brock Purdy did not win that game. Who won that game? They gave it away to him, and now he gets to advance. Tony just said it. He was dipped in gold, and he's been lucky to be able to get these games. That's why football is the ultimate team sport. We want to give the quarterback so much emphasis and so much production, but it still takes special teams, it still takes defense, and it takes coaching. You brought back Mike McCarthy, and Dan Quinn is apparently coming back.
Great.
Why?
Awesome.
Why?
I don't have Drew. I don't have a problem with Dan Quinn coming back.
He's a yes. Neither do I. I'm just bringing up the coaching staff. Matt McCarthy is a yes man. He knows that he's going to get the job back because he's a yes man. And Jerry gets to do what he wants to do from a GM perspective, from an owner perspective, and this and that. That's what it is, dude. That's what it is the Dallas Cowboys.
I think it was Blair that asked, what should they do at running back? Yeah, I think Pollard's probably going to walk. And I'll tell you something right now. Would it surprise me at all if they go sign Derrick Henry? Not even a little bit.
Yeah, but you know what? This is the problem. It wasn't, and I've been saying this all year, and everybody wants to watch the
you have
not a Tony Pollard problem. It's an offensive line cannot block. They cannot run block to save their lives. The offensive line cannot run block to save their life. It doesn't matter. And I think Derrick Henry is even a worse fit because he's going to be getting in the backfield more. Yep. You know, it's just.
But do you agree?
In regards to what?
Do you think it's likely that they go that route?
It'll sell tickets in popcorn. I mean, it depends what it depends what he's asking. You know, I mean, I wouldn't sign him. I would sign a low level running back.
If you tell Henry he's an RB2 and he's a goal line back, sure. But Pollard should be the future.
If he's there.
You need a guy like Pollard.
Listen, the way this offensive line looked, it doesn't matter who it is. Give me Rico Dowdell back again, or give me somebody who's just going to be. And this is the thing too. All season long, what did we hear about this Dallas Cowboys team? Is that they're going to be committed to the run. But then you have Tony Pollard and you as your lead back, who should really be. I'll find him as a lead back, but put him in an offense that he's pass catching and everything like that. And he wasn't even effective in pass catching this year.
A Rashad White offense.
Exactly. Give me that offense and him as a back.
I agree with you.
But don't tell me you're going to be a running team when you get an offensive line that can't run and you have Pollard as your lead back.
Brian, I got to get going. I got people coming over. So, hey, I just want to shout out real quick to you guys. Great show. And the two teams that I'm going with is the Buccaneers and the Bills. See you, boys.
Ooh. Rams. Sounds like Stafford's coming back. I thought they could be a playoff team coming into the year. I was not surprised they got in. I think they have a lot to like.
They should have won that game.
They should have won that game. Yes, they should have won that game. But regardless, I think there's a lot to like about the Rams. So I think the Rams losing is not this catastrophic thing for them. I think that they were a little bit of house money, and I don't think a lot of people thought they'd be there. But yeah, they absolutely could have won that game. No question about it. I like him coming in the next year. If Stafford comes, but Stafford's looked incredible the last couple of weeks. He really has. So if he can play to that level, team's very, very dangerous. And I said coming into the week, I'd much rather play Green Bay than LA. Anyway, but still, I mean, I think Stafford might have set records against the Cowboys defense that game.
Listen, the two things I want to know about the Rams, and it's going to make it real quick. One is, where's Cooper Kupp? Okay. Because he went from the best receiving season since Jerry Rice.
Yeah,
he was hurt this year, but when he came back, I don't know if it was a lingering hurt. His usage just went completely, and Nakua seemed to kind of take that role. So, and then props to him, but like it wasn't like a two-headed monster. It was, it was more like it was either one or the other. And Kupp had some good games, kind of towards the end of the year. But other than that, Kyren Williams, they got a nice running back there. He'll be fine. Where's Stetson Bennett? Anybody know where Stetson Bennett is? How often does a high run? I know he's in rehab. I get it, but I'm just saying. No, he is. Like,
yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. How often does like a guy just like disappear from the NFL and they don't really talk about too much? And the last guy I can remember like that was Lane Johnson, who was probably he was in the same place as Stetson Bennett. So, Rams are going to be in the battle for the 49ers for a long time. Especially if Stafford's a quarterback there. Solid young team. Aaron Donald's older, but he's going to be effective. And seems like I think they just know how to get it done there. And I think Jared Goff did exercise some demons. And everybody was picking the Rams, this, Rams, that last week. And, I kind of like seeing the Detroit hold it up.
Yeah, we had very low expectations for this Rams team. I remember at the beginning of the year, we really thought they were almost in tank mode.
I bet on them to win the division as a what the fuck, because if Brock Purdy got hurt, I thought they could have steal the division.
That's a good bet. It's a good bet, Tone. But
I lost. Yeah. Not a good bet.
Well, good thinking, good logic. Good thing.
Yeah, it's a logical bet.
What's NFL stand for?
It's a good value. But I think, if they could shore up maybe some spots on defense, pick up some valuable players on defense, because their offense is, you talked about Cooper Kupp as production, but I think they could easily figure that out with McVay and just have a really explosive offense. They find a tight end also. I think the Rams would be really dangerous if, to shore up that defensive side.
Listen, if Stafford's going to be that Stafford, there's danger. And that's the thing. It all comes down to the quarterback in this case, I feel, for them.
Imagine if the Rams had someone like Kyle Pitts.
Maybe they might. Maybe they could go get somebody like that. Yeah. Steelers. Great, you're above 500, fantastic. And then you got to the playoffs and you were jettisoned. So it's like, what are you really doing? What are you really accomplishing? They're going to bring back Kenny Pickett. I don't know how it's going to work anymore. Tomlin's there for next year. Don't know how long after that. This is to me a team that's just firmly in purgatory.
Yeah, quarterback. Yep, quarterback purgatory. You're just going to probably see the same Steelers team unless they make some kind of drastic move. I know there's some rumors around the Chicago way that they're interested in Fields, but if they don't make any kind of moves, you're just going to see the same Steelers team.
Steelers are awful. I don't know. George Pickens, Tomlin's looking worse by the day. It was completely counterproductive season. Brian, you're a big fan of losing to get a better draft pick.
I am.
And this is a team that should have lost to get a better draft pick. And I think that they're going to regret making the playoffs for a few years. Yeah,
but how do you tank? They put in Rudolph, and the guy comes in. He looked better. He looked better than anybody.
Yeah, Mason Rudolph is, it's what are you going to do? But no, it's hard. You can't really tank in the NFL. It's just difficult. But I'm just saying, ownership wise, GM wise,
Yeah, and they ran the ball. They found that they finally started running the ball. They didn't do that in the beginning of the year. Couldn't get that going. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just saying that, GM, it's just going to be difficult. And Tomlin, I don't know how much more Tomlin's going to be able to take, but, and I'm not a huge fan of Tomlin, but I give him credit because he gets teams in the playoffs, and that's kind of the end of the day. That's what you're trying to do, especially in situations like this.
Yeah, and you've seen coaches fall apart when the locker rooms fall apart, and locker rooms fall apart on Tomlin, and he somehow pushes through that. So it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, and Ryan Clark, one of his former players, and he was talking about him this week. Eventually, the older generation that is playing now, that is being able, the veterans that are able to take hard coaching and no nonsense coaching, that's probably going to weed itself out and that's why you're seeing so many, coaches get out of the NFL. And Belichick going to Atlanta, I can't believe the guy still wants to coach, but that's a whole other thing. But these coaches that these younger players, they want to be coached a certain way, and they want to be coddled, and because they've been playing, all-star, national flag football teams since they were 7 years old. They want to be coddled and they don't want to be coached hard, and I think Tom was one of that. So I think once those players come here, yeah.
Last but not least, I have thoroughly enjoyed the collapse of the Philadelphia Eagles to an unhealthy degree. I don't think the quarterback's very good. I think the coach is a fraud. I mean, I really see so many. As soon as a quarterback in Philadelphia gets paid, it goes downhill. You already have radio host in Philly saying that he'll be out of there at the end of 2025. You can make a conversation. Deshaun Watson's contract is very, very bad. This Hurts contract for the Eagles, I mean, yeah, it's cheap right now, but they are committed to him. And if they can't fix it, it's a problem. And I've been saying for a long time, really good offensive line, really good pass catchers. They do have talented running backs for what they need them to be. And that this guy cannot succeed in that environment. What is he and why is he getting paid? I think I've been kind of validated a little bit there, at least for now. I don't think he's very good. Floor is everybody else's.
So you're talking about Sirianni or you're talking about Hurts?
Both.
Exactly, both. That's the problem. We sat there and witnessed a team just got imploded. Now, people were talking about, I didn't enjoy the Eagles' loss one bit. It was just kind of like,
I wasn't watching it. I was in Disney, but I knew I was keeping tabs on it.
Oh yeah, right.
Well, the thing is, the Dallas Cowboys played on Sunday. My Facebook feed and everything had all the Dallas bashing, and then my text message that I was receiving and everything else. I'm just kind of like, you guys do realize you're playing tomorrow and you're probably going to lose. But they didn't, and then comes Monday and they do lose, which was kind of vindicating. But I didn't take any joy in it because once the Cowboys lost, I was I'm pissed off. But Philadelphia it's just a mess. It really is just a mess. This is one of the worst seasons they had since Rich Kotite was in command. He really needs to go. I could see that Sirianni should be gone before McCarthy. McCarthy, you could kind of wrap up and say, well, you know what? It was a bad game plan. They just weren't prepared for that game, for that one game. But Sirianni, this was just an epic failure through the whole end of the season. He lost the locker room, misusage of his talents on especially on the offensive end. I thought it's just insane. Give the Buccaneers credit for what they did is exposing the Eagles to not make adjustments at all. I mean, they did not run Jalen Hurts one bit, no QB draws, nothing getting outside the pocket, anything like that. A.J. Brown wasn't there, and Devontae Smith could still do the job. Dallas Goedert wanted to kill Hurts for whatever reason. I don't know what play that they were talking about on that. But, I mean, it was just a comedy of errors. The difference that the Eagles locker room shows as far as the Cowboys locker room is the effort. The Eagles sold. They were not playing hard. They didn't really want to be there. You could kind of tell it. Kelsey, I think, is just tired of getting grown man laying on them the entire time, with Hurts pushed on top of them. I think that wore thin. I mean, you got veterans like Kelsey and Lane Johnson stepping out and just saying this is not how programs should be run and how people should be acting. See, I think if the Eagles are smart organization, they blow it up. Now, as far as the Hurts' future, I think he could be an effective player in the NFL. He's shown he could be an effective player in the NFL in the right game plan, in the right situation. And you know what? Why don't you go send him down to Miami and he could replace Tua maybe? Who the hell knows? Because that happened already. So, or vice versa. But you're looking at a team where you're looking at a team that does have some offensive ability. I mean, they did lose a ton of people, in the offseason. I think that's something that was a little bit, including coaches. So this is a team that they really should look at just blowing up the coaching staff and trying to get somebody in there that could kind of get these guys to work together.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely something going on in the locker room for the Eagles. For Sirianni to hold his job, I'm actually going to be surprised. When you see this with teams, it's not good. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle this going through. But yeah, it was an epic collapse, offensively, defensively. It was actually okay to see to me. I really don't mind. Like you, Brian, I like to see it all collapse sometimes.
I just, you know what? I'm trying to find the thing. I can't find it right now. But it was right after the Bills game that what the hell is this guy's name? Zach something Balladino. one of my very vocal critics and outside the box, which you should join today if you like talking sports, who just likes to come at me because I don't like his quarterback and he doesn't like that because he's a card waving cheerleader, right? Anyway, he says Jalen Hurts does not lose, and he tags me in it. And since that game, I think he's won once. So like it's just like you go back over the last look. I understand. I am an Eagles hater. I wear that badge with pride. Last year they had a cupcake schedule.
Sure.
They get to the playoffs. They get the Giants who shouldn't have been there, and they get the Niners with Josh Johnson. Okay, they lose the Super Bowl. This year, so many games that were coin flip games. Again, if either Gabe Davis goes one direction or
Valdez Scanning dropped the ball, but you still have to give them credit for winning those games, Brian. That's
that's fine. But what I'm saying is that they weren't a 10-1 team, right? Like I'm not a big record guy anyway, but just from that discussion point, they're not this massive. They're 10-1. They're this what the word I'm looking for, juggernaut. They really weren't, right? Like the Cowboys, to their credit, were blowing teams out. Like those games were not close. The Eagles games, they were a hair here and there that they were just on the right side. They caught their card on the river a lot. Is the way that it worked, right? The Cowboys were going in there with flop flushes and just holding on, like to get the analogy, right? So I just wasn't impressed, right? Yeah, you're 10-1, but under the hood, it looked really ugly to me.
Yeah, and listen, you could say, what was the game, the Miami game, when they literally just grabbed their receiver's face mask and that wasn't called?
The Minnesota game, Justin Jefferson with the ball at the end zone. I mean, like, it's just so many different things.
There's at least 4 games where you could attribute a direct play,
interception, tip ball, Lions get it.
Yep. You could attribute a direct play for them. Everybody's like, oh, one play doesn't make a difference. Well, you know what? When the ball goes through the receiver's hands in the end zone, that makes a difference. When the ball goes not go, yeah. That's what I'm saying. They're right, but you still have to give them credit for winning those games by hook nor crook, right? But the way that they had an epic collapse just showed that they were done. And people who thought they were going into the playoffs, winning a game on the road in Tampa, which is an awful matchup for them. Even with Baker Mayfield with quarterback, I mean, you know what, they had to worry about Godwin, they had to worry about Evans, who had an awful game, and then these no-name receivers just tore him up. You know, I mean, if Cade Otton and Evans catch those 2 balls, it's a 50-piece before you warm up your pizza. It's just ridiculous. So I don't know what he's referring to them.
He's a Cowboy fan.
All right, so I disagree with that. The one game loss in the playoffs, absolutely awful. You're home, your favorite, you got your doors blown off, you got beat up. That's a worse loss than what the Eagles showed us. In the last 8 weeks, the Eagles showed us time and time again that they're not a good football team. You had to stop being fooled by the 10-1 record, and you had to look at what they are now. Not a good football team, and I expected them to lose to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay stacked the box. You're no A.J. Brown. Stack the box, make Jalen Hurts beat you, and they weren't able to do it.
But not even for not, but the Eagles, like, it didn't even seem like the earlier in the year they played Tampa Bay. They ran the ball right down their throat. Then exactly. they come out the first 2 plays. I think they gained 10-15 yards on runs.
Yep,
and then that's it. And it's like, what are you doing?
But also Jalen Hurts had like 11 carries in that game. That's the thing. Like DeAndre Swift is a good running back. When he has the ball and he actually give him an opportunity to run, he runs fairly well. It's not, they have a good running blocking offensive line. They just have an idiot for a head coach. And the blueprint was earlier. And yes, they went and stacked the box against the Eagles. But you know what? Like they mentioned on the broadcast last night against San Francisco is, you know what? Shanahan's not checking out of that. He doesn't want Purdy checking out of that. He wants them to run against, them big fronts. That's what you have to do.
I just don't think this is just my overall paradigm of this game, right? If at any point your game plan is make the quarterback beat you with his arms, then that guy's not an elite guy. He just isn't. That's all. Like it's as simple as I can make it, right? If I am willing to game plan around making the quarterback throw the ball to win, never done that for Manning, for Brady, for Burrow, for Mahomes now. Like that's that tier, right? Like I don't want that guy to throw the ball because he's going to carve me apart. And that's like I view this game very simply, maybe to a fault. But at that point, you're not a guy. You are not a guy worth $250 million at that point, because if you're that guy, you're making me pay for making you pass the ball.
You can see, I disagree. You can be that guy with the right staff around you. A guy like Greg Roman made his entire career with those type of guys. You can be that guy. They didn't utilize him. If they're going like, okay, we're gonna take away the run, then you got to do other things. You gotta go and adapt. You gotta listen. No one's the pick play or the drag route. That play is pretty much unstoppable. But you know what the Eagles were doing? Everybody was doing 25-yard posts down the field with a fly route on the outside. That's not helping your quarterback win. That's not putting your guy in the best position to win.
I don't know. If I were hooked to that guy for $250 million, I'd be very upset. And I'm upset about where I am, but we're the different story. Just real quick I know we're a little bit over today because we have a lot to talk about in very little time. The game today, which is going on right now, which is currently 0-0, is Tampa Bay at Detroit. Detroit was -6 into this game with a 49.5 number. Matchup of two number one selected overall quarterbacks drafted by different teams, Baker by the Browns and Goff by the Rams. Detroit has not won 2 playoff games in a year since 1957. They would accomplish that with a win today. Winner visits San Francisco next weekend. How do you see the game? Who's a bigger problem for the Niners?
Detroit. Detroit has a running game. They have a quarterback. I think Detroit's definitely the matchup that will give the Niners the biggest threat next week. I like the Bucs still have a shot here. Even though I don't expect them to win, but I think this game should be entertaining game for whatever reason. We already seen Baker throw an interception, so. It's going to be difficult. But yeah, I just think it's the Lions' time. I think that guys like Hutchinson on defense can make plays. I think their offense with the Sun God and the running game that's really kind of with Montgomery and Gibbs is really taken off. Laporta's developed. I just think it's the Detroit has enough where you got a quarterback like Jared Goff who he can perform. He can perform and I think it's pretty safe to say that out of these 3 teams, he's the best quarterback left in the playoffs. I think he's better than Purdy. So it's going to be interesting to see. Lions should pull out this win today.
Goff is absolutely the best quarterback remaining.
Oh, sure.
NFC.
In the NFC.
In the NFC, sorry. But I also think that compared to the AFC, it's the AFC 3 and the NFC 3.
Well, that's the other thing.
Which is how it always is, actually, because
Yeah, I mean, I got the 5.5 here and the over with Detroit today. I think they're going to pull this off and win handily. I think they'll give the Niners a game. I think they have the talent, like Tony said. They got a running game. I think they could. They can control the game. So, yeah, I give them a good chance against the Niners to move on and to compete with the Niners.
Do you say that because the Niners just didn't look that good last night? Is that part of where your mind's at with it?
No, I believe it. I just think they have the talent. Offensively, I think they have the talent. They can hang with anybody, Detroit. When they're on offensively, they have a really good offense. And it's just the question is their defense. Would they be able to hold up against the Niners? And, I think they could.
3-0 Detroit. They wound up kicking the field goal.
Am I just behind on this game? Shouldn't be.
You might be.
Well, I have DirecTV, so sometimes it's whatever. Anyway. All right, 3-0 Lions. Thank you, Tony. And there's a field goal.
Yeah, the problem is when depending on how healthy the 49ers are next week, I don't – that clunker that Detroit laid in Baltimore, which I think Baltimore and 49ers are pretty similar teams in their own right as far as being the class of each league. I don't – Jared Goff is going to have to exercise some road demons, and pull it out and have a good game plan. And, if Debo doesn't play and Detroit hangs on today, I think Detroit definitely has a legitimate shot to capitalize finally on a Purdy error or something like that. That's the matchup I want to say. If I have to watch the Bucs and 49ers, it's going to be ugly. I can't see Baker doing much against the 49ers. I think that they have a little bit more I think Jared Goff and he's a little bit more safe. He'll play a little bit more safe and not make as many mistakes as Baker would in that matchup.
We go from this matchup of Goff and Mayfield to a game I'm looking forward to. A game that features two of the best quarterbacks in the league, the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes on the road in the playoffs for the first time, visiting the Buffalo Bills, who were left for dead earlier in the year. And all of a sudden are 1 win away from the AFC Championship game. Spread's only 2.5. Very interesting. The over-under is 45.5. Travis Kelce is second all-time behind Jerry Rice in playoff receptions, yards, and touchdowns. I did not know that until today, and that is very impressive. It's not surprising, but is surprising at the same time, if that makes any sense. Buffalo has not beaten the Chiefs in the playoffs since the 1993 AFC Championship game, and they will have a chance at home to do that today. This should be an all-time great game between two great quarterbacks, decent surrounding casts, and the defenses are the defenses. But man, I don't know about you. I'm leaning Kansas City. They're kind of like it's them until it's not for me. You know, like I love Josh Allen. I mean, I do.
Who has a better record in the regular season?
Career?
Bills or Mahomes?
This year?
No,
Period?
just
I don't know.
heads up. Heads up.
Oh, I don't know the answer to that.
It's Buffalo.
Significantly?
I think it's what 3-1 or something like that, or whatever it is. But you know what though? But here's another. But here's where it kind of swings Kansas City ways, because Kansas City's beat them in the last 2 times of the playoffs. But where have they played them at? They played them in Kansas City. All bets are off now that they're. You know what? We've seen that. Was it 2 years ago when they had that great shootout? All bets are off now that your game's in Buffalo. Buffalo does have a defense now. They have a defense now. They didn't have a defense prior. They have a defense now. They have a running game. They have a playmaker in Josh Allen. I think that this gets them over the hump with Buffalo taking this game. I really do. I think the line of 2.5 is interesting, but you know what? I'm not willing to go away from what Josh Allen's been doing. And I think the Buffalo defense is good enough to contain a team and the Chiefs that is going to have to establish a running game. And I just think that there's too many flaws in that Chiefs offense, including Travis Kelce not being Travis Kelce, to not allow the Bills to advance.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with this game. Earlier in the week, I felt
that's the best games.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Star power, close game. Yeah. Hopefully, I just hope it leads up. Hopefully, this is everything that we expect it to be.
Sure. I mean, earlier in the week, I'm like, all right, this is the Bills' year. Bills are going to get over. I'm feeling like Tony's feeling. Josh Allen's on fire. He's leading this team. And then we talk about how the Chiefs have like this mediocre offense and their quarterback's Patrick Mahomes, and I can't get that out of my mind. And it's like, Travis, you haven't seen Travis Kelce in weeks, but
yeah, he
can show up out of nowhere. You just spit out his stats in the playoffs, Brian. I mean, so that he can show up. And now I'm leaning Kansas City. So it's just a really tough game. But to be honest, I'm rooting for the Bills. I want to see the Bills get over the hump here. So I'm going to lay that 2.5, and I'm going to go with the Bills today.
Here's the thing, though, right? Buffalo has this, it's like it's cold, it's this, it's that. You look, I just came back from 10 days in Walt Disney World, and I'm going to quote a Disney movie right now. Patrick Mahomes is kind of like Elsa and Frozen. The cold never bothered me anyway, because they were freezing in case
don't make a difference. Yeah.
Like, it's not that Patrick Mahomes can't play in the cold. This is not taking a dome team into Buffalo, right? So it's not like they're not used to it, right? This
not
isn't
even taking that into consideration. The weather, I'm not even thinking about.
It's not the weather; it's the home field. That's the difference.
But I'm saying is, but Buffalo's general cold weather advantage is not an advantage in this game.
Mm-hmm.
It would be against Buffalo against Kansas City.
I'm disagreeing altogether. I don't think how Buffalo plays cold weather is their advantage in the past. I don't think that is. That's not what they're doing. I just think it's the home field that's the advantage. You know, the temperature be damned.
I'm leaning Kansas City.
What do you think? Over or under? I took the under. I'm
What's the
gambling.
over-under?
I just
45 and a half.
45 and a half?
So I'm in a $50. I'm in a $50
$24.20.
I'm in a $50 pick'em pool. So you pick against the spread and the over under, and I'm 13-3 for the playoffs right now. So I need to hold on.
The Dogs. I think the Dogs have covered every game, but like 2, right? Or 1. I think actually.
Well, Houston didn't cover.
Houston, yeah, Baltimore covered the 9.5
Houston.
the other day.
Wait. Yeah, Houston was the only one. I think.
Yeah,
All playoffs.
I think you're correct.
Right.
Yeah, because the Rams were an underdog.
Yeah.
They covered. Bucks covered. Yeah.
If you're betting favorites, you're getting like
Packers covered twice. Yeah.
Yeah, like you're getting absolutely destroyed if you're betting favorites in the playoffs. Right now. Bodes well for Tampa, right?
And that's how Vegas likes it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So we went a little bit over today. That's okay. We had a little afternoon time. Ryan Leach, I know, is a big Bills fan. The big question is: so you get the Chiefs team that struggled to finish the regular season strong, or the team that played Miami? And that's a fair question. Again, playoff Chiefs, but that's what's going to make this game great, right? And again, if I'm Baltimore, like I'm not necessarily excited to play either of these two teams. You again, if you believe in better quarterback wins, like you kind of got to look at this and say. Let me ask you this question: Would it shock you if either of those teams go into Baltimore next week and just win? Who are you picking Baltimore against either of them?
I am picking Baltimore against the Chiefs. I don't know if I'm picking them against the Bills. We'll have to see how the Bills play today.
I'm picking Baltimore against both.
Most likely I am too, but
Yeah.
we'll have to,
Is that a quarterback? Is that a Lamar position or a defense position?
The overall team. I mean, the Ravens just are on all facets running on strong right now. So
there you go.
They got it clicking.
Well, kids, thank you for watching this late edition. We'll give you a time for next week. We don't know. We being at the games at 3:00 next Sunday, we probably do something around 1:30 will be my guess, but we'll see. It's a little late today, but that's okay. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We'll be doing eulogies of the teams that lost this week, next week. Talk about the coaching carousel. It's a tie game in Detroit, 3-3. Enjoy today and really enjoy tonight. I think tonight's going to be one of those all-time type playoff games that we talk about for a long time. That's the way it's setting up, at least in my personal opinion.
Yep.
There you go. All right, kids. We'll talk.
All right, boys. Peace.